I just came from Wisconsin, and it's a little bit cooler up there. It's still cold here. I thought there'd be some people here in short sleeves, but yeah, saw a few flurries, but it was mostly all melted by the time we got there. So I don't know. Oops, I had the microphone on there. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't. Some of you guys look very familiar, but if you remember our family and our situation, I know that we shared in 2024. I think when we were back in Sunday school and church, I think. But we have been back over there for a little over a year now. But we were back here the first in 2024 to 2025, February 2025. We went back over to Cambodia. We were here to settle our two boys and our two oldest kids, and so and our kids are kind of like two years apart. Actually, our second and our third are only a year and a half. So once it starts, it's like one after another. We have to bring them back, and so Bella, our oldest daughter, she's our third kid. She's not with me this morning. She's with her cousins in Gothenburg. But so the reason I'm back in the States is to bring her back, and she's going to be living with Charlie and Deb Shimon. You guys know them. Phil, Lindy's mom and dad. So she's going to be living with Charlie and Deb for at least through the summer, and then probably she's kind of trying to figure out what she's going to do for this coming fall. Hey guys. So it's a huge transition for her. We're so thankful that our boys, we dropped them off, and they went to a Bible school in Wisconsin, and they're still both there. Silas, our second, is finishing up his second year of Bible school, and then our oldest, he went for the first year, and now he's doing a nursing degree at a local college there. Kristen and I, my wife and I, are not from. Well, Kristen is from this area, and I'm from Pennsylvania, but our boys ended up in Wisconsin just because of that Bible school. So they're kind of making their way. We're really thankful that they've done so well. But a girl is a different matter, and I mean Bella, she's an independent kid. She has her own mind, but this is a foreign country really for her, so she's going to have to kind of figure things out. But we're thankful that she had the opportunity. She went to Gothenburg High School when we were back in 2024, just for the fall semester. She really loved, and she got to know her cousins better and build relationships with people in Gothenburg. So hopefully we're praying that she feels at home, and that she is able to make good friends and kind of make her way, figure out what's next for her. We've kind of worked through some of that with her, but we'll see what the Lord does with her. She's growing in her faith and her walk with the Lord. So we're confident in God. We're not confident in anything else. We're going to be, 13,000 miles away. So, I'm just actually in Nebraska for 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, and I wanted to stop in and see you guys and another church in North Platte, the Berean Church, and that was kind of arranged ahead of time. It's just kind of by chance communication, and so it was happened to be today, and so this was the only day that worked for stopping in here too. So anyway, my apologies that it's only just a brief time, but I really wanted to greet you guys and express our appreciation for your prayers and your support of our family and our ministry over there. Things continue to go well, so we're and I wasn't sure what amount of time I would have and what kind of things. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have too. If you want to ask questions, you can raise your hand or just start asking. Is fine with me. So we got back over in February of 2020 of last year. And things continued to go on while we were back here in the States for 7 months while we were settling our boys in. We have a church in our village. So we work in Northeast Cambodia. You guys remember where we work and who we are? I don't know how much information I need to give you, background information. So we work with a minority people group in Northeast Cambodia and called the Tampuan. And church planting, and I'm doing Old Testament translation right now, which has been a huge challenge, but also it's been a blessing to me and a blessing, I think, to the Tampuan church. And so we have the New Testament. I didn't do the New Testament. Some coworkers of ours did the New Testament, and they're with Wycliffe SIL, and they've since retired and moved back to Australia. And so he asked me to take over and the translation. So the progress on that he had done some of Genesis, and so we're filling out the rest of Genesis. I guess probably the second half of Genesis, not like the first 20 chapters, and we're doing the last 20 chapters. It was kind of like did some important stories that went with some of the curriculum that we do, teaching from creation to Christ, and we're trying to finish the second half so that they have a complete book of Genesis. So we've translated it, we've checked it, and we're in the middle of a consultant checking. So the process for that is quite involved. And so what it looks like for us is we have, and maybe I've shared this before, but I have two guys, Tampuan guys, that they know the national language, and another people group that has a Bible in their language, and so they're able to just make drafts. And this is how this particular organization does, how Wycliffe does translation. So we have we call them mother tongue translations. So we're not actually with Wycliffe, we're with Ethnos 360. But this translation project is under them. So I'm doing this under their organization. And so two guys, they draft the scriptures, whatever we're working on, Genesis. We just finished checking 16 chapters of Psalms right before I left Cambodia. And we're working on consultant checking Genesis. So they draft looking at the Khmer, which is the national translation of the Bible, and then the Jarai, which is another people group that has a translation actually in Vietnam, but they use that. This people group is on both sides of the border. So this Tampuan guy, his wife is Jarai, and so he knows Jarai well, and so he can use both the national language and the Jarai Bible. And so they draft scripture for us, and then that's kind of just what we have to work with. It just gives us something to work from, and that's kind of where all the work starts. And so we take those drafts, and each of us goes through it, and especially for myself, I do the exegetical checking, which means like I'm looking to make sure that all the original meaning is in there, and that whatever's missing we need to add in. If it's like has the wrong meaning, or if the mother tongue translator didn't understand what the meaning was, then we have to go through it together. So going through all of that, doing an exegetical checking, and they're kind of looking at the grammar because they don't have the resources to be able to look at original languages and look at the English translations. And so there's a lot of resources available. So we go through that process, then we come back together and we all go through each verse by verse. And a lot of times it's like, you might spend an hour or two on one verse, or maybe a whole day if you get stuck on something, but hopefully not. But that does happen. Sometimes you just have to leave it for another time. But so we go through that together, get it to where we feel like it's polished, and then we bring in a committee. So we have church leaders from all around our province, the Tampuan church leaders, and we all read through it verse by verse, going through each verse together, and they are listening to, because there's vocabulary differences, and from one end of the Tampuan land to the other, and we want to make sure everybody's understanding, and also take it out to a village and read it to people who've never heard these passages before, and see what they understand. And then we take those things, once we've got them edited and feel like they're in a really good way, then I translate them back into English, because a consultant isn't going to be able to read the Tampuan. So actually, yeah, I'm the only foreigner that speaks this language at this point in history. So, well, except for the retired missionary that was there years ago. So yeah, it falls to me to make this. So we make this, translate it back into English, and polish that. I polish that, and then I send it off to a consultant. And sometimes they come and work with our team. This last one for Psalms, for these passages of Psalms, wasn't the whole Psalms, but so we did it online, and he goes through it, does an exegetical check of his own, of my English translation, and then we go through that together as a team, and we bring in a few people who've never heard this scripture before and read through it, and he asked questions for every verse, sometimes 2 questions per verse, and seeing what they understand. So that's where the Psalms passages are at now. So then I need to print out all of those chapters that we did, give them to my guys again, have them read through it again, and make sure that it's all readable and there's no errors, spelling errors, or other errors in there. And sometimes you still find things, like we went through it with a consultant, and he found a lot of great things that we edited. And then as we're reading through it again together, like, oh, we should have changed this too. And so it just is like an endless process. And probably we'll get it printed. We'll put it on. There's actually a Bible on the app, a Bible app for this language. And so we have the New Testament, and then whatever Old Testament passages that we can get finished translation, then we'll put those on the app too. And you read through it, and it's like, why, how did we miss this, and how do we miss that? But Lord willing, we'll have it a really polished version of these Psalms passages and the book of Genesis for the Tampuan church to use. So that's where things are at. That takes a lot of my time. We lived in a remote village since 2011, and we still have our house there. We still live there, and I still do a lot of ministry. We have a church there, but because of our living situation with our kids and some of the kind of not great things that these are the village that we moved into. When we moved in there, there was they'd never heard anything about Christ. They'd never heard the gospel. They'd never heard of the Bible, of God's word. And so a very dark place. And, there's a big group of believers, and there's a number of people who probably, if you asked our village, a quarter of them would say we're Christians, even though, probably half of those are only Christian because their spouse maybe is a Christian, or they kind of have stopped doing their sacrifices. So they do sacrifices to the spirits, killing cows and water buffaloes and pigs and chickens to appease the spirits. And especially as our girls have gotten older, it became a kind of not a good situation for them to be in. And so we wanted to take them out. So we've been renting for the last year a house in the provincial town that's closest to us. And so we kind of been split living between our village house and this rental in town. And also our translation office is in town, so that makes it a lot easier for me to get to and from the office. When we were all just in the village, it would take, I would leave early in the morning and get home, 7:30 at night. And so this has made it, Kristen loves living in town, my wife, so it's been a huge blessing for our family. But it makes it a little bit more difficult because I'm a little bit more disconnected from where our hearts have been and where we've invested so much time. But I think in some ways it's been a good transition, kind of a slow transition, because we really want our church and our leaders to feel like they can stand on their own, because we're not going to be there forever, right? We want the point is that they can take the church and that they can lead it and they can keep it going. They can disciple, they can evangelize and bring in new believers. And we're shifting a little bit more to giving them the resources that they need to continue on, not just our local church in our village, but just the broader church, Tampuan church. So that's where a lot of those things are at this moment. Some other things that we started doing, we have a curriculum. It's called Building on Firm Foundations. It teaches from creation to Christ, and it's geared for these people groups that are in remote areas of the world where they've never heard the gospel before. So when you teach somebody like that, you can't just start teaching about the gospel, because they don't understand their need. They don't understand. I mean, they have a very different worldview. They believe that everything that happens is happening because the spirits are affecting their health, their crops, and everything, and they're doing sacrifices to the spirits. So if we don't want Jesus to be lumped in there with all the rest of the spirits that they're appeasing, or even to think of Jesus in a way that they can appease him as they do the spirits. And so we teach them, beginning with creation, and a whole brand new view of the world, and the God that created it, and the God that owns them, that created them. And so we teach them from actually like before Genesis 1:1, who is God? Because as it says in the beginning, God has already existed. And so we're teaching from there all the way through to the death, burial, and resurrection, and the ascension of Jesus. And So um, we're, we have developed these kind of a curriculum for them to use, written lessons, and we're turning those also into YouTube videos. And so, because of the younger generation, it's crazy. When we first moved out there, there was we could barely get emails, and if there was any attachments, we couldn't download it. You'd have to go to town and where there's a cell signal. And now the kids in the village have smartphones and they can watch YouTube videos. It's just kind of, I mean, it happens so fast. The world is just, I mean, it happened fast here too, right? We've got so much technology that's been developed over the last 20 years that's it's just kind of moving at lightning speed. But to see these tribal village kids out here in the middle of nowhere, out in some field or cashew orchard or whatever rice field, watching YouTube videos is kind of a crazy thing. We're living and working in full thatched huts, and but that's like a really important thing for them. So we're looking to reaching both the older generation and the newer generation. So we're creating, and actually, if you wanted to look it up, you can see some of the things that we've done. It's called Tampuan Seeds of Hope. So it's on Facebook and it's on YouTube. And actually, I have a guy that he's been working because there's a radio broadcast also that's, I think, half an hour a day of the Tampuan language. In our province, I think there's 7 different languages that are broadcasting over this. So an OMF missionary has kind of headed this up and purchased a time slot, I think 2.5 hours or something. So it must be like 6, maybe 5 people groups. I can't remember. Maybe it's 3 hours. But anyway, they broadcast. And so the guy that's doing these videos for me was doing the radio, and now we've kind of brought him into doing some other things. He's making these Building on Firm Foundations videos. He's making traditional music videos. You'll see those also on the YouTube and Facebook. It's a very unique culture. So if you want to see some of their music, they use gongs, and they have a kind of like it might hurt your ears a little bit, but it's one string, but they use a piece of bamboo, and it makes kind of like a violin, very screechy. But if they do it well, it goes well with the gongs that they play, and it's really pretty. They love their own music, and when you get used to it and you kind of become assimilate into this culture, it really just, you can feel it with them. You feel the excitement when they hear their own music, and so we are able to take their instruments that they have and the song tunes that they used to use to worship, the spirits, or just to tell old stories. And now we're telling stories about Christ and stories about creation and their new worldview. So it's really exciting to see. I don't know if you guys have any questions. This is kind of where things are at right now, and just wanted to give you guys an update. Literacy is another big thing that's going on. And we're so blessed to have a Dutch lady, single lady, who's come over. She had come over to homeschool a Dutch family that were going to be our partners some years ago, and really developed a heart for the Tampuan people. And that family has since left, but she has come back. She went back and with a heart to help with literacy, went back and got trained, and now she's back and working with the Tampuan, and she's developed a great literacy program. And because it's just our family, it has been just our family, I've tried to do some literacy, have taught a little bit of literacy, but there's just too many things to do, and I haven't been able to do it at all. So haven't been able to do it all, or do it all well. And so so thankful that she has taken that on, and she's trained I'm not sure how many teachers, literacy teachers, volunteer teachers, and it's just kind of exploded. It started out with 3, initially 2, and then 3, and then 7 more villages asked if they could have a literacy taught. But years ago they had a literacy initiative for the Tampuan people, but there's nothing to read. The Bible wasn't translated, and so it kind of just, people learned to read, and then they forgot how to read because there was nothing to read. That was like 20 years ago. Shortly after the alphabet was developed, and so now Scripture is they have it in their own language, and they can read it and they can understand it. So we're really excited to see where that's going to go, what God's going to do, and how the gospel will continue to flow out through those resources. And Yeah, so I don't know how much time you guys have. Okay. Yeah, okay. um, so our kids have just started on a different note. So we have 6 kids. 2 of them are in Wisconsin, and then Bella is here. And then our next 3, Josiah and Lonnie, they also went to school in Gothenburg. Um, but now they just started it's called MSG, Modular Study Group. So they go to the capital city one week a month. And so we're thankful that they have gotten up kind of the ability and the courage to travel from our province down. It's like a 9-hour ride on a bus. And once they get down there, then they have to get on a little tuk-tuk. It's like a 3-wheeled motorcycle or yeah. I don't know if you've seen kind of like a rickshaw or whatever, but yeah, so then they ride that over to this kind of a duplex, whatever, where they're renting for the school. So they spend a week together with other MKs. It's been a huge blessing for them because growing up in an isolated Tampuan village, they didn't have a lot of friends, peers, and so it's been really cool to see this. They just started it actually last year was the first year, and they did it in another province that was really hard for us to get to. So our kids didn't start there. So now it's in the capital city, and it's kind of like all roads lead to Phnom Penh, which is the capital city. So it's easy for them. It's a long ride, but they're willing to do it because it's such a blessing to them. They just have been able to make lots of good friends, and so it's been really cool, a neat provision of the Lord. There's a young lady that as an MK from China, she went through it. They started it, I think, in China was the first place they did this MSG modular study group, 1 week a month. And she was blessed by it, so she decided she wanted to help start another one in Cambodia. So that is another big development that's happened in our kids' lives. And then, of course, our youngest is 4. So she's 4, and then her next oldest sibling is 13. Actually, yeah, she just turned 4. It's Mariah. Maybe you remember her little thing when we were back. She'd have been 2 when we were back here. Yeah, no, 3. I don't know. I lose track, but anyway, she's 4 now. Yeah, 2024, but we weren't back till June, so she would have been 3, I think. No, she would have been 2. Doesn't matter. You guys have any questions about any of this stuff that I've shared so far? I think I probably should wrap it up. Fortunately, I have to head out, but we really appreciate you guys, your prayers for us, and your support as a church. And we want you to feel a part of our ministry, because we can't be over there without you guys supporting us and praying for us. And so we had a lady in our village, in our church, in our village. There's very few national people, but there's one family, a lady. She married a Tampuan man like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, older lady, and her daughter and her daughter's kids have become Christians, but they don't really speak Tampuan, and so it's been really hard to. I can teach in Tampuan and I can teach in Khmer, the national language, but our church service is in Tampuan because it's mostly Tampuan people. So it's been a need that we've had a hard time figuring out how to meet, but we've been able to disciple them a little bit. And but anyway, this lady just passed away a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, the week before I left Cambodia. Losing track of time now. But there's been a lot of deaths of believers in our village just recently. Her, and before that there was another lady and some people in different villages, and these funerals are always opportunities to share the gospel. What Kristen just shared with me, because you see death so much more there than you do here. We're very kind of isolated or insulated maybe from the real the nitty gritty, really. People, one of the things that they hope for most is to have a quick death, because they see so many people that have such slow, painful deaths, and diseases that may be preventable, maybe not. The local hospital is very unaccommodating for them and their sicknesses, and it's gotten more expensive, and they really don't help them unless they have lots of money, and even the help that they have isn't really great. So, but Kristen just was talking with me about this lady that we know her daughter really well. She's been helping us like in our house and helping Kristen with the housework and stuff. And so her mom was a very sweet lady. She's kind of had failing health for a long time. But it just struck both of us once again, just how, if we hadn't moved in there and they hadn't had the gospel, just what a difference it makes. We have people in that we'll meet, you guys will meet in eternity future when we're all together before the throne of Christ and worshiping together and fellowshipping together with these Cambodian Tampuan people that now have the gospel. What an incredible privilege it is for us together to work towards that end. And so we're so thankful for the part that you guys play, that we're all able to play in this, seeing the gospel go out to these unreached people groups in these unreached areas of Rattanakkady province. So I better stop there. But I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to come and share and know a little bit better how to pray for us. And thank you. Thanks, Russ, for working this out for us. And I better go.